But then we're going to move on from that particular story. It looks like the current experience that we're having in the country is beginning to affect the trajectory of things on the political scene, in that we're already beginning to have very, very strong conversations ahead of 2027. There seems to be a lot more awareness. People are already talking about 2027. You know, people are beginning to talk about who should come and who shouldn't return. The expectations already seems to be building, and I think that it's a first of its kind experience. Never have we seen, you know, so much agitation for the fourth year in the first year of anybody's tenure. Like, literally, it looks like on both divides, a lot of people cannot wait to get to 2027. So we are seeing fostering of several conversations. We've seen the likes of Kenneth Okonkwo, who, you know, in the 2023 elections, he was solidly behind, what's his name? He was solidly behind Peter Obi, yes, and was very vocal about his support. But as we see, he's standing on certain conversations now where he said in 2027 we need new faces. Tinubu, Peter Obi, Atiku should step aside. Now that's the conversation is bringing to the table. Now, one of the questions that I know that Nigerians have also begun to ask is, yes, we would agree to this narrative and to this conversation that these set of names should actually step aside. Now, when they step aside, who are some of the people that you are expecting to come on board as presidential candidates? Who are the names that we can throw up that we know that if we would commit, you know, this nation to their hand, it would be, they would adjudicate the state better?
You know, talking about new faces, it's another thing for, yeah, you said it is, you know, let us flash back to 2019, during the 2019 election. I'm sure during that was the end, towards the end of Buhari's first administration, where people actually went out to vote and they were fully interested in, because they were not satisfied with the results of the scorecard of the, you know, the former administration first term, and they all went out to the polls to vote in 2019. The truth is, did they get what they were looking for? Did they not get it? And that happened in 2023. Nigerians went to the polls again to, you know, show their, to exercise their right of, you know, their right of franchise. Did they get what they wanted? They did not. Now, Kenneth Okonkwo has said it is not longer about recycling the same leaders, recycling Atiku, recycling Peter Obi, recycling whoever that has been, because these people have been in this particular place for long as you could imagine. We are looking for new faces. And the question I want to ask is, will new faces change the narrative of Nigeria? Are we looking for new faces, or we are looking to changing the endemic level of corruption that is gradually becoming the fabric of the society already? Because if you have new faces in leadership right now, probably somebody, a youth that has not been in politics before, or a youth that is a new face, or someone from somewhere from that's a new face, will he be able to take over several sectors that are already being controlled by certain people that have been in power, that have been in position for a long time? So if we are going to look for new faces, we should also look at having new orientation, having new policies cut across all corners, all sectors of the economy, so that we could experience the desired level of governance we're expecting in Nigeria. New faces, yes, is a welcome development, but what about the endemic corruption in the system?
Well, it's a serious concern that we're seeing. Now, in the state of things, one of the conversations we've also continued to have is that the decay and corruption that we see in Nigeria is not about any particular administration. It has been successively handed down to everybody that
so
has
it gets
come.
worse at
it gets worse depending on who is at the helms of affairs. So when we are talking about having new faces to come into the politics of, you know, of Nigeria, we need to consider that, do these people have what it takes, the mental fortitude, the also as
the willpower.
But I'm going to say, as important as it is, although this particular administration watered it down, but to a very large extent, acceptance by the people. I was actually on where a car rode yesterday on my way home, and then I saw this billboard on the road that was saying, you know, encouraging citizens to support the president. And for a moment, I had to think, when did we start to need a billboard to encourage citizens to support the president of the Federal Republic? Because if by his policies, his decisions, his body language, because most often than not also, Nigerians interpret the body language over even some of the policies and actions being taken. You know, what is his body language to the fuel crisis that we're having? What is his body language to the insecurity? And sometimes Nigerians, as wonderful as they are, take the body language and can go home and just rest.
And they're not ready for you to even come and explain. I think
Do you understand?
Nigerians have lost faith in leaders. They've lost faith in leadership in this country. So whatever it is you're coming to do, you will believe it is the same story, probably in a different narrative right now. So when I've seen that also, I think alongside Economic Road, I've seen that also a particular group that we should support the president.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, why do we need to use advertorials to ask, you know, Nigerians?
I think it's an advocacy kind of, you know, Nigerians to join. But the truth is, I'm not sure. I am not sure.
In what administrations before now have you seen that happen? Because
if you are doing well, you will not need to beg people to support you. You will just get, Nigerians as we know, will just have the full support. Naturally, we will just support you. We've seen some governors in certain states that they are doing well, and you see how the people are just pushing their support, talking to themselves. If the same thing is done at the level, at the presidency level, Nigerians will not need to be coerced. Nigerians will not need to be begged. You will not need billboard, probably, you know, advertorials on TV to begging the president, begging people to support the president.
So we're also looking at towards 2027 in pushing that we should have new faces. We need to have people that have an acceptance by the people.
Exactly.
So it's not just like altogether new faces. Have these people been around? What is their
antecedents?
What's their antecedents?
What's their scorecard?
Yeah.
Where are they coming
what
from?
have they been doing? What industries are they coming from? Where can we feel the pulse of their impact to trust them, you know, with the first seat of the country? That is something. So I'm saying that, you know, public acceptance to the personalities that we are, you know, that the likes of, you know, Okonkwo are pushing would be a great deal. But I do accept wholeheartedly that we need to sit down and look back on the political scoreboard of this nation and actually co-opt new people. Because, I mean, for the likes of Atiku Abubakar, they've been the longest in the race trying to get the presidency. And in all fairness, right, yes, maybe he has some good dreams for the country, but maybe he can also rest. Imagine that the likes of Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, maybe Ekwankwaso can put together their energy and put away, you know, what's the word? Aspiration. Put it aside and get someone and mentor. Imagine a quality of Atiku Abubakar, a Peter Obi, and a Ekwankwaso
mentoring certain group of people,
putting it over a certain group of people, mentoring these persons, and you pick one of them and front because we've also been having the conversations of
coalition
between
these, you know, opposition parties.
Yes. So in coalition, yes, if you the flip side of the coalition is when they come together, are they going to front Peter Obi? Is it Atiku or Kwankwaso? Who will they front? But if they come together and mentor next generation, it will be easier for Nigerians to accept whoever the coalition has mentored.
Yes.
Over trying to be, oh, we are factioned towards Atiku or factioned towards Obi. Do you understand? That would be a better experience.
You know that also, if they're having a coalition and at the end of the coalition they are coming up with probably a Peter Obi, there's still going to be an influence of an Atiku in the administration. There's still going to be an influence of, when I mean influence, a personal interest. What do I get in this? But if there is this patriotism there that, like, let's look at the future of Nigeria, let's look at the future of this country. If you are so desperate, if you are so desperate in delivering, you know, bringing patriotism to Nigerians, giving good governance in Nigeria, can you channel those ideas, those lofty ideas you have? Mentor young Nigerians and tell them this is a sit as a godfather we know that, yes, political godfatherism is there. Sit as a godfather and mentor these young Nigerians, give them direction. Be like a kingmaker instead of going out to front a personal interest. But I'm not sure we're going to have that as far as the political system, ecosystem in Nigeria is concerned. Because we are seeing what is happening in Rivers State. Someone brought someone into power and it still feels that you should make the person a puppet, control the person, manage the affairs, manage the resources and everything, and is not ready to let go. So it's a whole lot of conversation. Probably we need a recycling, probably a flush out over whole of the whole system, political system in the country.
We have a lot of problems on our hand because, like I also said, there is this a really big anomaly in that we are still within the first years of this administration.
It's not even close to second year.
And the full attention of the country has gotten back to elections. It is wrong on all sides, however you look at it. We are not in a good place. But then you also have to look at, in pushing for new faces, we have a problem in the APC. We have a problem in the People's Democratic Party. Labour Party is barely surviving.
They are even going through leadership, you know.
Do you understand? So there's a faction that was supposed to be with Alex Oti, you know, for an NWC meeting, and then it was just, you know, handled. However, the People's Democratic Party, you don't even want to go there. And the APC looks like, you know, their house is almost together. I mean,
we know they are not together because we saw a story that says Fashola or whoever to determine the fate of Ganduje in the papers sometimes yesterday. So there is no political party in this country that.
So when you are asking that we should produce new faces for 2027, from what parties are you saying that we should produce new faces? Because let's say now we have 4 strong political parties: APC, People's Democratic Party, NNPP, New Nigeria People's Party, and the Labour Party. Yes. Those 4. Do we have what it takes to produce a new face from these 4 parties? Or are we considering that maybe if we have a new kid on the block, you know, a fresh political party, or one of these existent ones that have not yet, you know, metamorphosed into a strong name, and then we have a fairly new face come on board, will Nigerians support those faces? I think it was in the 2019 elections, if my memory serves me correctly, where we saw a lot of different faces. I mean, the likes of Fela Durotoye, wanted to run for the election. So principal people in the private sector showed interest, tried to come on board. Is that something we are going to be experiencing in 2027? Have these people lost faith in Nigeria, or do they have enough faith to return again to seek the ticket? So these are some of the conversations. We also need to see, are there people who are interested in that seat? Because we are all, the conversation is out there, Nigerians are having it. Our phone lines are on the screen, of course. You can be a part of the conversation, because when you call the names, the first names that have been called, Obi, Atiku, Tinubu, Kwankwaso, when you finish there, now there is the second cadre of the Gandujes, of the Sarakis, of the
Bukola, and all of them,
of which Nigerians also do not want them.
We are seeing, you'll be shocked to see that Gbajabia Mila may be somewhere.
Do you understand?
Tajudeen Abbas may be somewhere, you know.
Naturally, in the minds of Nigerians, like we have a first
generation, second
I like
generation,
the word first generation,
third
second generation, and maybe a third generation. So maybe when we are saying we are canvassing for new faces, maybe we are looking for faces from the 4th generation, of which we know. Another thing you must agree, Ime, is that even in this political mentorship, a lot of these mentees have become like their mentors. So even, yes, although I am advocating
when you say they have become their mentors, they have learned
the ropes. Yes, they have learned the ropes just as their mentors are playing. How many of them will still come on board and, you know,
and be patriotic
and serve the people, right?
Without, you know, personal interest being involved.
Do you understand? So these are some of the issues, but I believe that most Nigerians are absolutely for let's have new faces in 2027.
You know, you just made mention of that. Why are we having the conversation? Is it not quite too early? The truth is, when Nigerians are not satisfied with certain...
Is it Nigerians that are pushing these conversations, or it is them politicians also that are instigating these conversations?
Politicians are Nigerians. Also? They are Nigerians also. They are the one pushing this conversation. And so this is what we keep saying, that Nigerians should begin to show interest in governance, show interest, be interested in what your governments are doing, be interested. If you have, you know, you made mention of, you know, new party. Labour Party was merely a party that anybody could reckon with until Peter Obi actually moved to Labour Party. So we do not, they are different. I mean, Nigeria is a multi-party system. We do not know any political party that will come on board. Probably any of these, these first generation politicians move into that party, and the party is having a big. The problem with Labour Party is that they were not well structured.
Which party is?
Another thing I want to talk about is the ideologies of the political parties in Nigeria. What's the level of ideology? What is the ideology? Because it's just like it's a stomach for infrastructure kind of political party. It is favoring me here. If I move here, it will favor me. If you look at the people in APC right now, they were core members, they were foundation members of PDP that just moved because the ruling party is APC, so that they could get appointments. It's just for selfish interest. We are looking forward to having a political party well structured, who are people-centric, who are focused on making sure that Nigerians get dividends of democracy, who are focused on making sure that if any of the leaders they are fronting, if any of their members who happens to be a president or governor and is not abiding by the rules and regulation of the party, the person will be questioned. But I'm not sure we have that in the current political party system. Anybody could happen. Anybody could just become with their money and buy the position in political parties, and that's why we're having the issues of political party crisis in the country. I think we need a lot of work needs to be done as far as politics is concerned in Nigeria.
Well, when you're talking about political party ideology, you have to even talk about the political ideology of the people beyond political parties. We don't even have a political identity as a nation, and that is something that is also available on the continent. Africa has not found its own political identity yet.
That's true.
So that's why it has not been able to,
have a particular
bed structure or how, politics on the continent should even be played. An average, country on the continent is copying, maybe verbatim, and wrongly so also, the democratic play of first world nations. And then we've continued to see that in the last 20-30 years it hasn't worked, and that's why we're seeing the uprisings that we're seeing on the continent. So what I have to first of all answer the question of, can the Nigerian people who are revered as the giant of Africa, can they, borrow out, when I say borrow now, like borrow, can they borrow out a political ideology for themselves? Like, who are we as Nigerians?
Can we have our,
who are we as Nigerians?
Yes, can we choose our own identity as far as politics is concerned?
Can we find it? Who are we as Nigerians? And personally, I think that one of the ways to even find that is, let's go back and study how Nigeria
came about,
how Nigeria functioned before colonialism. What were the systems in place that helped us function? The Benin Empire is, has the most credible history in terms of governance that you would think about. Think about the Yoruba nation and cut it across. Now, if we would understudy the different geopolitical zones, including the north, that still has a really strong governance style through its stool of emirs and all of that. If we go back and study our traditional stool of governance, we can take it and then put it together with, modern day civilization, and we'll definitely find a path. But already we are crippled already by greed and corruption, so nobody wants to do that thinking.
I think if we are going to push this conversation, we will go back to regional level of governance that some people are actually pushing for.
And some people are fighting against.
Because it is right there. We saw the Benin Empire, we saw the Igbo people, how they were able to be in governance, and the people still referred their level of governance, their traditional level of leadership. You've just mentioned the North, how the Emir is still a very strong stool of traditional rulership, and they're still being revered. If we should go back to that system of governance, the truth is we will be going into regional governance. But are we ready for that conversation? We've talked about the Oronsonye's report that we're looking at, breaking into Nigerians into different structures. Are we ready to have that? A lot of people have pushed for, new constitution, which are saying that the current constitution are not people-friendly. Does not have the interest of the people. it's a whole lot of conversation. But we just hope that, you know, as days goes by, we will have a leader who will have the strong will, who will be determined enough to change the narrative of the Nigerian, the Nigerian nation, so that we can have dividends of democracy. It might not be now, it might not be when, probably, I just hope I'm alive to see that change we're looking for in this country.
Well, if you're talking about you not being sure whether you'll be alive to see a change in Nigeria, that's a lot of dismay already, that you've lost hope. Because plus or minus, let's imagine that you are around like, you're around for the next 50 years. You're saying that in the next 50 years we are not sure of seeing any qualitative change in the nation. That's alarmingly worrisome, Ime.
But we just talked about how there's already a lined up of certain group of people waiting, and they're in the same circle, they're in the same mindset. It doesn't look like they have the interest of the people. We have the likes of Peter Obi, we have the likes of Atiku, we have the likes of Ganduje, who has been we've been seeing subtle conversation about he wants to run for presidency. Do you think these people have the mind of the people? So when you take 16, or I mean, they are looking at 8 years. When you take 8 years from your life, what's left?
Do another 8 years, you'll get on 16.
What is left?
So if you spread it across, and if they're still alive, it might take another 50 years.
So it's, I don't know, it's not like I'm being pessimistic, but I mean, we should also state the reality of what's happening in the country.
But it's important, because part of the ways that we can engender change is to continue to push towards dialogue and make more information available to the people. Let Nigerians out there let them know that they literally have options. And if you would go for the options, maybe we would have a better result. Yeah. So yes, we will not tire out in having these conversations and just broadening the minds, of Nigerians as to you are rich. Stop being satisfied with the crumbs falling from the king's table. We literally really need to do a lot better. But then I'm still talking Nigeria this morning. I mean, the time has gone and you wonder what we've been talking about.